Alright, with the Eagles on the bye week, let's take a look at what the Eagles need to improve. Plus, the reason the offense you're seeing isn't exactly Kellen Moore's. And even though that may be the case, why might we expect to see some changes from the OC? Also, did Howie Roseman get completely fleeced in the Jahan Dotson trade? It's starting to look like it. So let's talk about it. But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? Alright, I've got to give a quick shout out to the official sponsor of the channel, Underdog. Because right now, there's not a better time to sign up. With Underdog offering a boost total where they're going to give out a free promo every single day. Like, for example, customizable tokens to turn your favorite player into an automatic winner. Meaning all you got to do is nail one pick and you can win big. So, with the Thursday Night Football game on tonight, how about taking advantage of the Kirk Cousins freebie? And then pair that selection with one more selection, say maybe like a Mike Evans over 7.5 receiving yards in the first quarter. Or if you want to try my favorite game, then check out Underdog Streaks, where you start by picking 2, and then if those picks green, you only pick 1 at a time from then on out. And then if you can hit 11 in a row, you'll win up to 1,000 times your money. Speaking of 1,000 times, just use that QR code right there or use my code Philly Special when you get signed up and you can get up to $1,000 bonus cash with a first-time deposit. Or just use the link in the description. Having said that though, please make sure to gamble responsibly and hopefully your luck is better than the Eagles. I mean, things could always be worse. Like the Dallas Cowboys, for example, who are dealing with some significant injuries themselves. Being down Micah Parsons for at least a couple games as well as DeMarcus Lawrence being placed on IR. And now Brandon Cooks could be out multiple weeks after developing an infection in his right knee following a procedure he had after the Giants game a week ago. Now, first off, that's a big loss, but let's just say prayers for Brandon Cooks because an infection, any sort of injury, you don't wish that, especially with a rival, anything like that, but we do hope that he's okay. Of course, on the wide receiver topic, that news quickly brought in the speculation of Dallas being players for the Davante Adams sweepstakes, as the 31-year-old recently requested a trade, and then The Athletic's Diana Rossini shared that the Cowboys were monitoring the situation. However, unlike Howie Roseman, who will pull the trigger, Jerry, all in on losing Jones, will not, with Jordan Schultz officially putting those rumors to rest of Dallas actually being serious players for the former All-Pro and providing Jerry's thoughts.
I'm not sure I'm interested in that. No, I am sure. I am not interested in that.
They ain't all in on winning a championship. Does this look like a championship team to you?
No, it does not.
Man, I watched that game on Thursday night against the New York Giants, and one thing became crystal clear. Neither one of those teams that played in that game are going to be in the playoffs. Neither one of them. Look, this is a 2-team race in the NFC East. And it ain't the Giants, and it damn sure ain't the Dallas Cowboys.
Look, I get that we're frustrated with the Eagles, and we should be, but at least we don't have a GM who's going to sit on his hands or at least won't go out and make a move when he feels like the Birds need one. You know, as opposed to Derrick Henry, who could have been a Cowboy and is first in the NFL in rushing yards. Yet Jerry claims the team, just couldn't afford him. Which, by the way, isn't true. They just decided to go with a washed-up running back and don't understand how to manipulate the cap like Howie Roseman.
Because he's a genius.
Yeah, his cap management is unbelievable, but at the same time, let's not get carried away and say he could do no wrong. After all, going back to the Devonta Adams situation, it's rumored that the price for him is somewhere around the second-round pick or potentially even a third and some additional compensation. Of course, at the time of this recording, he's still on the market, so we'll see where he ultimately goes. But just knowing that Howie gave up a third-round pick for Jahan Dotson doesn't give off the best feeling. Especially when you think about the fact that that third-rounder was the one from Miami. So, given the issues they've had, coupled with a ridiculous amount of injuries, the third-round pick is currently well within the top 5 picks for that round, and may only get better.
We're okay.
You tell me, is it overreacting or did Howie lose that trade? Now sure, I've heard and seen arguments saying Jahan Dotson had the highest separation out of any Eagles wide receiver versus Tampa Bay according to Next Gen Stats. So in that case, why don't we use him? However, first off, some of those numbers are skewed considering that game was a blowout. Plus, when you look at a more full body of work, Dotson ranks near the very bottom in separation rate and in particular separating versus man. Now fine, I get it if you're wondering what the tape shows as well, and shout out to Shane Huff who pointed out that there's more than a few instances where Dotson's instincts, or possibly lack thereof, haven't helped Jalen Hurts. By the way, I'm not giving QB1 a free pass, and we'll get to more of that later. But for the questions of does Jalen fully trust 83 out there on the field, I don't know, it's kind of hard to say. Yet there have been more than a couple times Dotson hasn't helped his case. Also, it's kind of a no-brainer, but these guys haven't had a ton of time together, so maybe they can eventually find some chemistry. Although on the flip side of that argument, remember Noah Brown, who the Commanders got afterward? Well, yeah, he has the second highest win rate and highest separation score for receivers with at least 40 routes run. Now, having said that, it's still an incredibly small sample size, so let's not go acting like Noah Brown is catapulting the Commanders to where they're at. I mean, the dude only has 10 receptions. However, all Washington had to do was sign him, whereas Howie gave up a top 75 pick for a guy that has 5 catches and 25 yards. Look, I'll admit, I had a lot more confidence about Jahan Dotson when the trade first took place, but at least, maybe there's something to say that he's at half the catch total for Olamide Zaccheaus was last season. I know that doesn't really help. Although, like Jalen Hurts said, the team is still in search of an identity, and when they find that, that's when they'll start seeing results.
I got to be better. That's the only thing I can say. I got to be better. I think things will be better once we establish identity for ourselves, and we're trying to figure that out. I think we're still trying to figure that out. I think it's challenging when you've had different moving pieces throughout in that. And so given the opportunities you have, it's truly a so what now what mentality, and that's the approach that I've had. I just don't think I've been good enough in those areas. There isn't a doubt of anyone who steps on that field in terms of opportunity. We got to give guys opportunities and put guys in positions to be successful. And I have to play point out there and distribute it, really run the show and lead the charge offensively and as a team. And I got to be better at that.
By the way, I can appreciate Jalen taking ownership of his play because he had way too many turnovers. However, we got to be honest, the O-line hasn't played up to its standards either. Sure, they've had their moments, and yes, we've been dealing with some injuries, but at least as far as pass protection goes, Hurts has been pressured on nearly 41% of his dropbacks, which, by the way, ranks as the 7th worst unit in the league. At the same time, I'm pretty sure we're all aware that it's a two-way street when it comes to pressure statistics and whose fault it is. Yet say what you will, but the Tampa Bay game was definitely a group that was overmatched.
The Eagles have 5 blockers. So they think they're going to be slick here. Jalen Hurts is going to change the protection to a roll protection. All right? Just a roll right here. And they do take care of all the dangerous players right here. All right? On this roll. Except they don't have an answer for the rookie, Tyke Smith right here. He comes free and puts the wood right there on Jalen Hurts. All right? They've gained 7 yards. Now, Levante right here, Levante David, he's going to pick the right tackle, Fred Johnson. All right? He's going for the pick. And here comes the twist off of it, and they put a hit right there on Jalen Hurts, and he sails the ball over the receiver's head. All right? They hit him every kind of way that you can. This is only a 4-man rush. All right? It looks like there's a whole bunch up there, but only 4 are coming. Let's watch Levante here. Like, Diaby is going to come as a free hitter. All right? He's coming free. Now, watch what they do. They destroyed their protections all day. Here they come. Free hitter right here. Diaby coming right at Jalen Hurts. All right, you watch right here, Juergens and Dickerson are guarding grass. They're breaking down the protections all day, and right there, Jalen sails the ball. Okay, here we go. Biggest play of the game, all right? It's 1st and 10 at the 19-yard line. They're only going to rush 4, but here you go. Levante David's coming back on backer, right? Saquon on Levante. Here he comes. Now, Jalen tries to sidestep him right here, and here he comes. Bam. Gets the ball out of his hands, all right? Fumbled, recovered by Tampa. And if you watch the play right here, Jalen's trying to buy some time because he's got a divide play right here. They're going to split right here at Calcaterra. This is right where he wants to go. Right, he's looking, he's ready to cock it and throw it. Ball's out, all right, all day long. You watch this right here. Like, this is a hell of a block by Gainwell. Best block by running back all year. Bam. All right, but Jalen under siege. Well, Levante David, 2 sacks on the day. They blitzed on just a 5-man rush right here. You watch this, another fumble right here. Here they come, 5-man rush. Here they come. And they get right there. Diaby gets to him, gets the ball out. Fred Johnson recovers. They blitzed on the final play of the game. 4th and 11, final play of the game they came after. The only 6-man pressure all day. Like, you look right here, the tight end and back are doing, like, they're just in protection, but they're not blocking anybody. Here they come. The Eagles' pass protections were beaten by Todd Bowles again, like he did in the playoffs and like he did on Sunday down in Tampa.
Baldy's spot on in his assessment. As good as Jeff Stoutland is, the group didn't do well enough. Or at the very least, the pass protection didn't do enough based on the overall game plan. But yeah, I hear you. Why on earth did we not just run the ball? Especially being down our top 2 guys in the passing game. Of course, it doesn't fix it now, but Kellen Moore did admit that it'll be a bigger focus moving forward.
Obviously want to get the ball to Saquon as much as possible, just like, a lot of these guys. But, obviously poor job just finding the rhythm in that game to go 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and then, put yourself in a really challenging situation where you're going to have to play catch-up ball for the rest of the game, and you still don't want to lose the run game. You still want to try and keep it alive. Obviously, certainly we got to get them more touches.
I think the most frustrating part about all of this is despite the pass blocking group not being great, the Eagles are near the very top when it comes to ground game efficiency. So why in the world do they keep complicating things? Well, it might be the fact that Nick Sirianni is involved in the offense a bit more than we all would like, or at least with a game plan and the scheme. Since if you take a look at the numbers, the Eagles currently rank 19th in motion rates through the first 4 weeks. Or if you want to go based off of total motion rate, then the Birds are in the bottom 5.
I'm letting Kellen run drive the car. And just like my wife will say, to me, hey, make sure you take a right here or left here. She's giving me directions. I'm gonna, same thing in these scenarios. Is just chiming in when I have something to chime in.
I think he knows where it is going. The machine knows. Stop yelling at me. No, it's stop yelling. There's no room here.
Just a reminder, Kellen Moore's offense with the Chargers last season was 8th. Now, I know one argument could be that the Eagles have had a lot of injuries, so they've had to water it down quite a bit, or the other argument is saying that, well, they get down very early, so you just scrap the whole game plan, there's not as much motion, and sure, there's some truth to that, but let's not forget, LA had some significant injuries last year, were still able to keep the levels of motion up, and absolutely got obliterated in several games. Plus, taking a further look into it, this isn't a standard Kellen Moore offense, as the Eagles have used hardly any under-center dropbacks, as well as their play-action percentage being well below the league average. Translation, this is an offense that does not have an identity and is still trying to find itself. But yeah, you already knew that based on watching games. Also, another thing on the topic of motion, I will say that it'd be nice to see some of that type of motion with speed, because too many times we see a guy just slowly going through the motions. Sorry, that was no pun intended, but you get my point. Whereas like Luke Kuechly said, stress on the defense is done by using pre-snap motion and by the speed at which you do it. So I don't know, hopefully we see a change, but that one seems pretty obvious. However, having said all of that, and this may be crazy, I'm still optimistic that this bye week presents a great opportunity. You regroup, you hone in on what you do good at, and you hopefully improve the offense along with getting some guys back from being injured. But by the way, no one's talking about wholesale changes. But this team was built to run through a dominant offense that, gets on the opposing team early. So considering that Philly hasn't scored a single point in the first quarter this season, Kellen Moore said the first drive will especially be an area of emphasis during the bye week, where they can make sure to get a rhythm easy, take pressure off the defense, and most importantly, get the star players involved early and often.
We're just doing such a deep dive on so many things, and so this is a really fun task for us to navigate and just find a way to get going sooner, get going quicker, because there are moments, coming out of second halves, we've had successful drives just coming out of it, but we obviously got to start faster, and so that's a big focus for us, just to continue to evaluate that and find our way.
I know we were saying the exact same things last year, but let me ask you, legitimately, how confident are you in the Eagles turning this thing around, like on a scale of 1 to 10? Also, I think this is another good time to remind that none of the offensive starters got a chance to play together during the preseason. So combine that with the fact that all of them playing at the same time was only one game, and the offense isn't as nearly concerning as it first appears. But I don't know, maybe you disagree and think I'm crazy. Look, ultimately, the hope for this is that the team just starts faster. Heck, Philly's now gone 15 straight games without winning a game by 2 possessions. Which credit to Reuben Frank, but that's the first time that's happened since 1970. So when you consider that, along with the Eagles having literally the easiest remaining schedule in the NFL for the remaining games, it is absolutely now or never for Nick Sirianni. Honestly, if he wants to keep his job, I'm personally saying he's got to go like 9-4 over the next 13 games. But whenever we boil it down, it really comes down to the first 2 to 3 games. Also, I realize defense is a huge issue, and honestly a bigger one than the offense, so stay tuned because I'll be breaking that down and talking about it more in an upcoming video. However, just some positivity for you, things could be worse. After all, the Eagles are still 2-2. In the last 8 times the Eagles opened with that record, they've reached the playoffs. In fact, 3 of those instances resulted in reaching the NFC Championship game. You're right though, we're getting way ahead of ourselves. Let's start by getting 1 win, go to 3-2, and then this thing builds, we get some momentum. Let's not look ahead to the playoffs. We just take it one game at a time. Also, quick note, no live stream hangout for the Friday night hangout this week. Unfortunately, I already have plans, but we'll be back next week. Just some info there. Do me a favor, hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe if you have not already. A lot more giveaways coming, and we are on the road to 100,000 subs. Until next time, this has been the Philly Special.